In case you guys missed it, on April 20th, 2023, a CGC 9.8 copy of Nintendo Power #1 sold for $108,000. An incredible sale, and the highest price ever paid for a Nintendo Power magazine, beating the old record of where a 9.4 sold for $24,000. Now, I wasn't actually going to dedicate a full video to this Nintendo Power sale, but Sean with Reserved Investments also made a video on this subject, and his video made me want to make a bit of a response video to that. And surprisingly, Sean actually did defend this $100,000 sale quite a bit. I will not be defending this purchase, much like I did not defend the $24,000 purchase that took place in November. I think this is ridiculous, extremely speculative, and almost bound to be, at least in the short term, a bad purchase. So say thank you to every single patron who helps support the channel, as well as the YouTube members. I can't do this without you guys, and let's set the stage for this $100,000 sale, which actually started back in November 2022. So CGC 9.4 sells for $24,000 November 22nd, 2022. Now, if we look at the CGC census data from before this sale, the closest timestamp I can get is from June 2022. So if we use that data set, we can see that 9.4 across both issues of Nintendo Power, which we're going to talk about later. There are two different copies of Nintendo Power, but at the time of this sale, 9.4 was the highest graded copy of this magazine that existed. At the time of the sale, this was by far the highest a Nintendo Power had ever sold for. Obviously helped by the fact that at the time, there were no copies graded higher than this 9.4. Now, when I made my original video back in November on this sale, I expressed extreme caution towards this sale. Having seen everything that took place in the graded video game market and graded collectibles in general over the course of the past 4-ish years here, it was basically inevitable that a higher grade copy of this magazine was going to exist and come to market. Especially for a collectible like Nintendo Power, which is still pretty new to this whole graded speculative scene. If we go back to that June census on Nintendo Power, there are only 249 total copies of the magazine even submitted for grading at that point. This is a book that's only about 35 years old and distributed over 3 million copies. I know that a lot of people watching this probably have copies of Nintendo Power in their collections right now. The book itself, in any condition, is not rare. The fact that only 249 were submitted at the time tells me that nobody is submitting their copies for grading right now. And sure enough, if we hop this census date now to December 2022, we can see that the 9.4 population has gone up by 1, and the 9.8 copy has already been added to the census. The sale for the 9.4 took place in November. By December, the 9.8 copy had already rendered the 9.4 to complete second place now. Is that 9.4 copy still even worth $24,000 now that the 9.8 is on the pop report? And if we pop this up to the most recent census now, which is just 3 days ago as of publishing this video, we have another 9.4 added. Now there are 5 total 9.4s on the pop report, and the total number graded across all copies now is up to 335. In 10 months, that's about a 35% increase to the total pop. So now we get to the $108,000 sale of Nintendo Power. CGC 9.8 Pop 1, highest graded copy that exists. Sounds a bit familiar, right? At least this book is 9.8 condition. This book in this condition is almost undoubtedly going to remain very low population overall. But being very low population versus being a literal Pop 1 is a world of difference. And now that this book sold for $108,000, now that this story is out there into the world, you can bet that there's going to be many people now scouring every collection of Nintendo Power they can find. People out there with collections now going through their collections and looking at their copies. People buying graded copies already, trying to crack them out, press them, improve the grades on it. Everyone is going to be trying to get a 9.8 copy of this magazine. This is now the true litmus test for Nintendo Power #1. Like I said, grading Nintendo Power magazines in general is still very new. Basically everything can be said that it's super rare. The pops are so low, right? High grade copies of this magazine hardly exist out there. Now that everyone is going to be looking at Nintendo Power 1, is it still going to be rare? I think it is basically inevitable that we will see more 9.8 conditions of this magazine come to market. And I think we're actually going to see it in the next 6 to 12 months. And if that does indeed happen, the price of this $100,000 magazine only has one direction to go, at least in the short term. But let's go even deeper with this, because like I said, Sean with Reserved Investments made a video about this as well, and he was actually defending the sale a lot more than I am. And keep in mind, I do respect Sean. I would even consider him a friend of the channel. So I'm just going to start by playing a bit of Sean's video here so you can hear the arguments that he puts forth for the magazine.
So the first Nintendo Power magazine was published with a publication date of July-August 1988. And it was sent to pretty much everybody that Nintendo had on file. The people that registered their video game systems and accessories through Nintendo, they already had your name and address on file. So you were guaranteed to get a copy. They also did give this particular magazine out in certain instances as well. The publication print run.
This is where we're finally going to talk about the 2 copies of Nintendo Power that exist, but just give it 1 second here.
Of the first issue of Nintendo Power magazine is rumored to be in either 3.6 million pieces all the way up to 3.8 million pieces, depending on what number and statistic you believe. Now, this is where people reach out to me and they say, Sean, you're crazy. Because it had that high of a print run, this item is not rare. It should not be selling for $108,000 at present time on the secondary market.
See, he knows the arguments that I am already going to put forth for this magazine. And that's why it's kind of funny that we both disagree on this so much, because I think those arguments are extremely strong, whereas he does not. But just a second here, there's a little bit more.
Well, little Timmy, sit down and shut the fuck up, because everybody that got a copy of Nintendo Power 1 opened that thing up. They read it. They pulled the poster out. They got peanut butter and jelly all on the pages. They spilled grape soda on the pages. They did who knows what to that particular publication. To the point today, in the year 2023, with magazine grading in full swing, thank you, CGC, we already know that the population reports for a Nintendo Power 1 magazine at present time in 9.8 condition, there is only 1 copy in existence. There are no copies higher. There are no copies in 9.6 condition. There are only 4 copies in 9.4 condition. In 9.2, there are only 9 copies known.
So he brings up those population numbers as though they are a sign that the books are rare, right? Those population numbers emphasize the rarity of these magazines, whereas I take those population numbers with a massive grain of salt because, like I said, the amount of people submitting Nintendo Power magazines in general is extremely low. But to go even further with this, we now are going to talk about the 2 different copies of Nintendo Power that exist, because I think this is truly monumental to deciding how much potential value there is to this magazine. So the one that we've seen sell at auction now, both times, the 9.4 and the 9.8, are this free poster inside variant. The other copy that exists is this one where it says free sample copy inside of Mario Star. And if we click into it as well, you can see it says premiere issue here right under Nintendo Power. On the other magazine, it says July-August 1988. This free poster inside magazine is the mass distributed copy of the magazine. This is the one that you got once you actually signed up for Nintendo Power. This is the one that they pumped out to people. This free sample copy is the one that early adopters were given as a free sample, of course, to convince them to sign up for the new magazine. Now, as far as I can tell, as far as my research goes, the free sample copy had a distribution of somewhere around 500,000 copies, where this free poster inside had over 3 million copies printed. Now, if we go back to the census data again, if we look at the free poster inside copy, again, the one that had mass distribution, the pop on 9.4 copies went up by 2, and we had the 9.8 copy introduced. If we look at the free sample copy in the past 10 months, the 9.4 is still sitting at 2 copies with no 9.2s and no higher. The pop report on 9.2 or higher did not change at all. Why I truly believe there are going to be many copies out there with 9.8 potential. You could back order copies of Nintendo Power well after the magazine was already into full swing. I was able to find this Reddit post here of someone who back ordered Nintendo Power copies 1 to 50. And you can see here, they even uploaded these wonderful photos showing about how Nintendo Power shipped it to them. And on the invoice, you can see this is from October 1993. About 6 years after Nintendo Power had started being published, you could back order all of the copies of the magazine. You can see here that some of the copies even came inside of plastic baggies. Of course, you can look at Nintendo Power 1, 2, 3 here. They're still in pretty rough shape. I'm not saying this guarantees you 9.6, 9.8 copies of the magazine, but what this does is goes directly against Sean's argument that all of the supply that exists of everyone ruining it with grape juice and gummy fingers, new copies were put into circulation well after the initial print run of Nintendo Power. 1993 is already well into this magazine being established. It's already well into the speculation craze with comics, magazines, all of that stuff. Now, if someone wants to put forth all of that argument for the sample copy specifically, I would genuinely agree. The odds of this version existing in high grade or there being a bunch of supply out there, extremely, extremely low. But for this copy, the free poster inside copy, I am extremely nervous about the amount of supply that might exist out there. Now, he goes on to talk about other defenses for this magazine versus other magazines, and like I said, I fully recommend you check out his full video as he defends it a lot more than I am here. And there is no right or wrong answer on this, right? He's speculating what's going to happen. I'm speculating what's going to happen. But one other thing I do want to bring up here, and this is just a general argument for Sean in general, is in this exact same auction here, we had Duck Hunt 9.6 A++ matte sticker from the initial Nintendo test run in 1985. Pop 2, known to exist at this point in any grade, sold for $120,000, just a little bit more than a Nintendo Power 1. And right beside that, we have an 8.0A hang tab copy of Super Mario Bros. Pop 24 across all hang tab variants of the game, sold for $96,000. Now, very rarely would Sean defend a sealed video game sale in the $96,000 range, $120,000 range, and it's weird because all of the exact same arguments about organic rarity, these games were meant to be opened, played, destroyed, why would anyone sit on these? All of those same arguments do apply to these rare, high-grade sealed video games as they do apply to this rare, high-grade copy of Nintendo Power. In my own opinion, it's not a matter of if we see another copy of this magazine, it is a matter of when. Now, hopefully for the person who spent $100,000 on this, I am completely wrong about this. It remains the only 9.8 copy for years to come, and the next time one comes to open market, it sells for $200,000, right? Hopefully for the buyer's sake, that's what ends up happening. But hey, we'll see what happens. It's all speculation at the end of the day, and that is why I love to talk about this stuff. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let me know down in the comment section. Hit the like button before you go, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.